I never thought I would find myself in such a mess, but here I am, pouring my thoughts out into this void. It all started subtly, little changes in Sarah's behavior that I initially brushed off as stress from work. We had been married for 5 years, and in my mind, we were the perfect couple. You know, the kind that other people envy. I was a writer, she was an elementary school teacher, and we had this cozy little home in Silver Lake, California. We even had a dog named Max, who adored both of us. Life felt sweet, but about 6 months ago, things started feeling off. Sarah was coming home later than usual, and when I asked her about it, she shot me a look that was somewhere between annoyance and disbelief. She always had a quick retort ready, claiming she was just busy grading papers or working on lesson plans. I tried to trust her, but an uneasy feeling gnawed at me. Then came the phone. She was always on it, scrolling through texts and notifications, wearing this guilty smile whenever I walked by. I caught a few snippets of conversations over her shoulder, and they felt off, too casual, too intimate, but I didn't want to jump to conclusions. It was easier to believe she was just distracted, right? The changes continued. She started dressing differently, wearing outfits that were tighter and more revealing than I had seen before. When I asked her if she was trying to impress someone, she laughed it off, claiming she just wanted to feel confident. I told myself I was being paranoid. After all, I loved her, and I wanted to believe she loved me too. But every day felt like I was living on a ticking clock, just waiting for the time bomb to go off. Then came the night I discovered the truth. I was working late on a screenplay, and I noticed Sarah was unusually quiet as she walked into the house around 10 o'clock. She had just come back from a girls' night that she had forgotten to mention until the last minute. My gut twisted. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. I decided to confront her, but as she flitted about the kitchen, pouring herself a glass of wine, I hesitated. While she was in the bathroom, I glanced at her phone sitting on the counter, the screen illuminating with a message from someone named Jason. My heart raced as I picked it up. My hands trembled as I unlocked her phone. She never changed her password, thinking I wouldn't dare to snoop. But there it was, plain as day. "Can't wait for tomorrow. I miss you, babe." In that moment, my heart dropped. I felt like I had been punched in the gut. I stood frozen, phone in hand, as a wave of nausea washed over me. I had never expected this, Sarah cheating on me. It felt surreal, like a plot twist in one of my own stories. My mind raced with a million thoughts, each more painful than the last. I heard the bathroom door creak open, and panic hit me like a freight train. What should I do? Confront her? Act calm? My heart thudded as I realized I had to know more. I pocketed the phone and kept my composure while she walked past me, blissfully unaware of the storm brewing inside me. That night, while she drifted off to sleep, I lay there wide awake, consumed by the thoughts of betrayal. How could she do this to me? I thought of our plans, our dreams, everything we had built together. The laughter, the love, the promises, all shattered in an instant by a text message that felt like a death knell to our marriage. When morning came, I had made up my mind. This was not going to slide. I would confront her, but not just with anger. I needed a plan, a way to expose her deceit. I felt a strange sense of clarity, anger mixed with a cold resolve. I would find out the truth, and whatever it took, I would get my revenge. With that thought, I began setting my plan in motion. The days that followed felt like a foggy haze. I was living with a mask on, acting as if everything was fine while inside I was boiling. I had a million questions, and each time I looked at Sarah, I could barely recognize the woman I had loved. I didn't want to distrust her, but her lies were becoming unbearable. I needed proof, hard evidence of her betrayal. As I struggled to gather my thoughts, I started devising a plan. I figured the best way to get concrete proof of her infidelity was to track her movements. I began to pay close attention to her schedule, the times she left for work, the nights she claimed were girls' nights, and even her phone habits. I became a shadow, lurking in the background, keenly observing every detail. I knew I had to be careful. If she sensed that I was suspicious, she might change her routine or, worse, cover her tracks. One Thursday evening, I decided it was time to put my plan into action. Sarah had mentioned a dinner with her friends, but my gut told me it was more than just that. I waited until she had left the house and then made my move. I quickly hopped into my car and drove to the upscale restaurant she frequented with her friends. As I parked a block away, I felt the tension in my chest tighten. This was it. I didn't know what I would find, but I was ready to confront whatever truth lay ahead. I waited, watching the entrance like a hawk. My heart raced every time someone walked out, half expecting to see her face. After about 30 minutes, I finally spotted her walking towards the restaurant, holding hands with none other than Jason. My stomach churned as I watched them laugh and flirt with one another. They looked so relaxed, so natural together. I wanted to scream, to run up to them and confront them both, but I restrained myself. I needed to gather more evidence to make sure I wouldn't appear delusional when I finally confronted her. I followed them inside, keeping a safe distance. They sat at a dimly lit table in the corner, and I found a spot at the bar where I could watch without being too obvious. The sight of them sharing a bottle of wine, leaning in close, whispering to each other, it tore at my heart. I watched as Sarah tossed her head back and laughed at something Jason said, her eyes sparkling in a way I hadn't seen in months. This was the moment I had dreaded but also needed. I pulled out my phone and began recording discreetly. I knew this evidence would be crucial when I confronted her. I could hear snippets of their conversation, and each word felt like a knife twisting deeper into my gut. "I can't wait for the weekend," Jason said, his voice low and flirtatious. "What do you think? Just us, no distractions." "I know, babe, it'll be perfect," Sarah replied, her voice laced with excitement. "I'll tell him I'm going to retreat with the girls." In that moment my blood ran cold. Retreat with the girls, this was beyond what I had imagined. My hands shook as I recorded and I forced myself to breathe deeply. I needed to maintain my composure. After what felt like an eternity, I saw enough. I was ready to confront her. I slipped out of the restaurant and made my way back to the car, my heart pounding. I felt a mix of anger and sadness welling up inside me. I wanted to scream, but I also felt a sense of empowerment. I had the evidence I needed, and I would not let her get away with this. When I got home, I felt a rush of adrenaline mixed with dread. I had no idea how Sarah would react. Would she deny everything? Would she beg for forgiveness? I knew I had to prepare myself for the confrontation, but it didn't lessen the anxiety twisting my stomach. I replayed the evening's events in my mind, the laughter, the intimacy, everything that had been stripped away from our marriage, now on full display in front of me. As I sat on the couch, I could hear Sarah's keys jingling as she opened the front door. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for what was to come. This was the moment of truth, and I was ready to face it no matter what. As she walked in, I put on what I hoped was a neutral face, but I could feel the anger simmering just beneath the surface. "Hey, babe." "I'm back," she called out, her voice cheerful as she walked into the living room. "Hey, Sarah," I replied, my voice steady though my heart raced. I knew I had to keep it together. She looked at me, the smile fading just a little as she sensed the tension in the air. "You okay? You seem a little off." I took a deep breath, ready to unleash my fury. Little did she know this was just the beginning. "Yeah, I'm fine," I said, my voice a bit too calm for the storm brewing within me. "Just been thinking a lot lately." She raised an eyebrow, concern flickering across her face. "About what?" I leaned back on the couch, crossing my arms as I chose my words carefully. "About us, about trust." The air thickened with tension, her expression shifted to one of confusion and just a hint of defensiveness. "Trust? What do you mean?" I hesitated, my heart racing, but I couldn't back down now. "I mean, I've noticed some things, Sarah, things that just don't add up." "What things?" asked, her tone a mixture of feigned innocence and growing annoyance. "Like how you've been coming home late, or how you've suddenly become so secretive with your phone." I paused, gauging her reaction before I dropped the bombshell. "And how you were at dinner with Jason tonight." Her face paled, the color draining from her cheeks as reality hit her. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, but I could see the panic in her eyes. "I followed you," I admitted, my voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions inside me. "I saw you two together. I have video evidence, Sarah. You can't lie your way out of this one." For a moment we both stood frozen, the weight of my words hanging heavily in the air. Her eyes darted around as if searching for an escape route, but I wasn't going to let her run away this time. "Jason is just a friend," she finally blurted, her voice rising defensively. You're jumping to conclusions. I can't believe you would stalk me. Stalk you? I echoed incredulously. You've been lying to my face. What else am I supposed to think? Do you honestly expect me to believe this is just a friendship? Her demeanor shifted from defensive to desperate. Okay, I admit I've spent time with him, but it's not what you think, I swear. He's just been someone to talk to. Someone to talk to. I couldn't help the anger bubbling to the surface. You don't hold hands with someone you're just talking to. You don't share intimate dinners. You don't miss your husband for someone else. Tears welled in her eyes, and I could see she was struggling to maintain her composure. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Things have been complicated between us. Complicated. I laughed bitterly. You mean you decided to throw our marriage away for some thrill with another man? Is that how you think relationships work? Please just let me explain, she pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. I was unhappy. You're always so focused on your writing, and I felt like I was alone. Jason listened to me. He cared. So you thought cheating was the answer. Stop making this worse. She snapped, her frustration boiling over. I made a mistake and I'm sorry. I felt the ground beneath me shift as I processed her words. A mistake? Is that all this is to you? A mistake? I didn't plan for any of this to happen, she insisted, her voice rising. I just wanted to feel alive again. Alive? I echoed, my voice cold. You think sleeping with another man will make you feel alive? What about the vows we took, the life we built together? I know, she cried, her voice breaking. I messed up. But please just give me another chance. I love you. The irony of her words struck me like a slap to the face. You love me. You have a funny way of showing it, Sarah. You're having an affair, for God's sake. The hurt in her eyes was real, and for a split second I felt a flicker of sympathy, but I quickly pushed it aside. I couldn't let her manipulation take hold. You've shattered my trust. How can I ever believe anything you say again? I'll do anything. I'll cut him out of my life, she begged, moving closer, her hands reaching for mine. I pulled away, feeling a wave of disgust. I don't want your empty promises. You've betrayed me in the worst way possible. The tears streamed down her face, and for the first time I saw her vulnerability, but it wasn't enough to change the reality of what she had done. I felt like I was standing at the edge of a precipice, the weight of my emotions pulling me down. The anger, the sadness, it all collided into a painful swirl of confusion. I can't keep doing this, Sarah. I need time to think. Her face fell, the realization of my words hitting her hard. You're not leaving me, are you? I have no idea what I'm doing right now, I admitted, my voice heavy with uncertainty. But I know I can't stay here pretending like everything is okay. With that, I turned away from her, feeling the years of our marriage crumble into dust. I didn't know what would happen next, but I was certain of one thing. I would find a way to reclaim my story, even if it meant letting her go. As I walked out of the living room, I felt the weight of betrayal sitting like a stone in my gut. The woman I had once trusted and loved was now a stranger to me. And as the reality of the situation began to sink in, I realized that the path forward would be anything but easy. But it was time for me to take control of the narrative. That night was a restless blur. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Sarah's face, her tears, the moment of betrayal unfolding in my mind like an unending loop. I tossed and turned, wrestling with the chaos of emotions swirling inside me. Anger, sadness, disbelief, they all fought for dominance, but one feeling rose above the rest: determination. I had to take control of my life, my story, and that meant making some tough decisions. The next morning I woke up early, the dawn light spilling through the window like a warning. I couldn't bear to look at her, to see the woman who had shattered my world. Instead, I grabbed my laptop and went to the coffee shop down the street. I needed a change of scenery, a respite from the memories that lingered in our home. As I sipped my coffee, I started drafting my feelings in a more concrete form. Writing had always been my outlet, a way to channel my thoughts and emotions into something tangible. This time I wasn't writing a screenplay or a novel. I was writing my truth, a letter to Sarah, detailing everything I felt, from betrayal to heartbreak. I didn't plan on sending it, but rather used it to clarify my thoughts and emotions. When I finally returned home, I felt slightly more composed. I had spent hours outlining how I wanted to move forward. It was time for another conversation with Sarah, not to rekindle our marriage, but to lay out my terms for her betrayal. I needed her to understand the gravity of what she had done. As I walked into the living room, I found her sitting on the couch, her face puffy from crying. Guilt gnawed at me, but I pushed it aside. I needed to be firm. "Can we talk?" I said, my voice steady. She looked up, her eyes red and swollen. "Please, I'm so sorry. I'll do anything to fix this." "Fixing this isn't as easy as you think," I replied, taking a seat across from her. "What you did isn't something that can just be swept under the rug with an apology." I know," she exclaimed, her desperation palpable. I didn't realize how much I loved you until it was too late." "Love doesn't justify infidelity, Sarah. You threw away everything we built together for a fling. It's going to take a lot more than just love to fix this." Her silence spoke volumes. I could see the reality of her actions starting to sink in, but I wasn't about to let her off easy. "I need space. I need time to think about what I want moving forward." "Space," she echoed, her voice trembling. "What does that mean? Are you leaving?" "I don't know, but I can't stay here pretending to be okay with what happened. I need to figure out if there's anything left worth salvaging." Her face fell, and I could tell she was grappling with the enormity of my words. "But you can't just throw us away. Please, just give me a chance to make it right." "Sarah, you've already made your choice. I need to make mine now." In that moment, I felt a surge of power. For so long, I had felt like the victim in this story, but now I was reclaiming my narrative. I stood up, resolute. "I'm going to stay at a friend's place for now. I need time and space to think clearly without the constant reminder of your betrayal." "Where are you going?" she asked, her voice breaking. "To Andrew. He's been supportive through all this. I'll be back to grab my things later." "Please don't do this," she begged, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We can work through this. I'll cut off all contact with Jason, I swear." "I don't want your promises, Sarah. I need actions, and I don't think that's something you can give me right now." With that, I walked out, her pleas echoing behind me. The moment I stepped outside, I felt an overwhelming sense of relief mixed with sadness. I had taken a step towards reclaiming my own narrative, but the pain of leaving her behind weighed heavily on my heart. At Andrews, I buried myself in my work. I started focusing on my screenplay again, channeling my emotions into the story instead of letting them consume me. Each word I typed felt like a cathartic release, allowing me to process my grief and anger. But even amidst the creative flow, thoughts of Sarah lingered. I wondered if she would really change, if her words were genuine or just another set of lies. I spent hours wrestling with my emotions, and as time passed, clarity started to emerge. I couldn't ignore the reality of our situation. This wasn't just about betrayal. It was about trust, respect, and whether we could ever rebuild what had been shattered. A few days later, after losing myself in work, I decided it was time to visit Sarah again. I needed to see her, to talk face to face about where we stood. I wasn't going back to her with open arms, but I needed closure, even if it meant facing the rawness of our situation again. I took a deep breath before knocking on the door, my heart racing. Whatever happened next, I was ready to face it head on. I had reclaimed my narrative, and now it was time to see if Sarah was willing to do the same. Sarah opened the door, and for a moment the sight of her caught me off guard. She looked different, almost fragile. Her hair was pulled back in a messy bun, and she wore an oversized sweatshirt that seemed to swallow her whole. The usual confidence that had drawn me to her felt stripped away, leaving behind a raw vulnerability that tugged at my heart. "Hey," she said softly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Hey," I replied, trying to keep my tone neutral as I stepped inside. The familiar scent of our home hit me, a mix of coffee, cinnamon, and the faint traces of her perfume. It felt surreal to be back, yet so alien at the same time. "Can we sit?" she asked, gesturing toward the couch. I nodded and took a seat, keeping a safe distance between us. The air was heavy with unspoken words, and I could feel the tension building. "I've missed you," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "I've had so much time to think about everything, and I want to explain. I need you to understand why I did what I did." I held up my hand to stop her. "I'm not here for an explanation, Sarah. I'm here to talk about us, about whether there's anything left to salvage." Her eyes widened with pain, and I could tell she was battling her emotions. "I understand why you're hurt, I do, but I need you to know that Jason was never meant to replace you. I was just lost. Lost, I echoed, feeling a surge of anger. You don't go from lost to sleeping with someone else. That's a choice you made, a choice to betray me. I know, she pleaded, tears welling in her eyes, but I didn't think about the consequences. It was a mistake, a stupid, terrible mistake. I want to make it right, but I can't do it alone. Making it right isn't just about saying the right things, Sarah. It's about trust, and you've shattered that. I'll go to counseling, she blurted out, desperation flooding her voice. I'll do whatever it takes to show you I can change. Just please give me a chance. I took a deep breath, weighing her words. Part of me wanted to believe her. The thought of salvaging our marriage was tempting, but the hurt ran too deep. You need to understand that I can't just forget what you did. It's going to take time, and I don't know if I can ever fully trust you again. I understand, she said, her voice breaking. But I love you, and I don't want to lose you. I can't imagine my life without you. The sincerity in her voice ignited a flicker of hope within me, but I pushed it aside. Love isn't enough to fix this, Sarah. I need to protect myself, too. I can't keep putting my heart on the line when you've already hurt me so badly. Please, she sobbed, her tears falling freely now. I'll fight for you. I'll prove that I can be the wife you deserve. As much as I wanted to believe her, I had to be rational. What does that even look like? You saying sorry isn't enough. You need to show me you're committed to this, not just because you feel guilty. I will, I promise, she cried. I'll cut all ties with Jason. I swear I'll make it right. I rubbed my temples, feeling the weight of the conversation pressing down on me. What if you can't? What if this happens again? I need to protect myself. I can't go through this again. I understand. I just want you to know this was never about you. I let my insecurities get the best of me. I never wanted to hurt you. It was painful to see her like this, so broken and remorseful, but remorse alone wasn't enough. I had to think of my own emotional well-being. I need time, Sarah. This isn't something that can be fixed overnight. Take all the time you need, she said, her eyes pleading for understanding. But please don't give up on me. I nodded slowly, the gravity of the situation still weighing heavily on my heart. I'll think about it, but for now I need space. As I stood to leave, Sarah grabbed my wrist, her grip tight. Please don't shut me out completely. I'll be here, waiting, ready to fight for us. I could see the sincerity in her eyes, but I also felt the walls I had built around my heart. I can't make promises right now, Sarah. I need to focus on myself. With that, I stepped out of the house, feeling the weight of her gaze on my back. The moment I closed the door behind me, a wave of emotion surged through me. I had finally faced her, confronted the truth, and acknowledged my feelings. But as I drove away, I realized this was just the beginning of a long journey ahead. I had taken steps to reclaim my narrative, but the road to healing would be fraught with challenges. I needed to figure out what I wanted, what was best for me, and whether there was a path to forgiveness. As the sun dipped below the horizon, I knew it would take time, but I was ready to navigate this uncharted territory. One step at a time, I would find my way back to myself, regardless of the outcome with Sarah. And maybe, just maybe, I would write a new story, one that was mine alone. The following weeks were a whirlwind of emotions. I spent countless nights at Andrew's, pouring my heart and soul into my screenplay while grappling with my feelings toward Sarah. The time away had given me clarity, but the pain of betrayal still lingered like a shadow. I couldn't ignore it, no matter how hard I tried. I found solace in writing, channeling my heartache into a narrative filled with characters who faced their own demons. It was therapeutic in a way, creating a world where I could control the outcome, unlike my own life, which felt like chaos. Writing became my refuge, a space where I could escape the harsh reality of my situation. During this time, Sarah reached out frequently, each message a mixture of apologies and promises. She would send me texts saying how much she missed me, how she was working on herself, and how she hoped we could talk again soon. I could see she was trying, but the wall I had built around my heart was still very much intact. I couldn't trust her yet, and I needed to honor my feelings before making any decisions about our future. One day, while I was at the coffee shop, I received a message that shifted my perspective. It was from one of Sarah's friends, Emily, who had been supportive through the entire ordeal. She wanted to meet and talk about Sarah. Hesitant but curious, I agreed to meet her later that afternoon. When we sat down, Emily wasted no time. "She's been a wreck since this all happened," she said, concern etched on her face. "I know she hurt you, but I wanted you to hear it from me that she's genuinely sorry. She's been going to therapy and trying to understand why she made those choices." I listened, trying to gauge how much of it was sincere and how much was just damage control. "I appreciate you telling me this, but it's going to take more than apologies for me to consider." "Coming back," I replied, keeping my tone even. "I get that, but I also want you to know that she's not just saying those things to make you forgive her. She's really committed to changing. She values what you two had," Emily insisted. The sincerity in Emily's voice struck a chord within me. As much as I wanted to dismiss everything Sarah had done, I couldn't help but wonder if there was some truth to what Emily was saying. Perhaps Sarah's actions did stem from her own struggles, struggles I hadn't fully understood. "Look, I don't want to rush into anything. I need time to think," I repeated, but something shifted within me during that conversation. Maybe there was a possibility for reconciliation, but only if Sarah was willing to do the work. Later that night, as I sat in my temporary apartment, I reflected on what Emily had said. The thought of giving Sarah another chance filled me with both hope and dread. Could I really forgive her? Could we rebuild from the ashes of our broken trust? Days turned into weeks, and the more I focused on my writing, the more I began to see the parallels between my story and my reality. Just as characters in my screenplay faced conflict and growth, so too could I face my own struggles. Eventually, I decided to meet with Sarah again, feeling the weight of my decision heavy on my heart. I needed to see if she was truly committed to making things right. When I arrived at her house, I felt a mix of anxiety and anticipation. Sarah opened the door, and the look on her face was a mixture of hope and apprehension. "Hi," she said softly, stepping aside to let me in. "Hi," I responded, trying to maintain my composure. We sat across from each other, the silence stretching out like an uninvited guest. "I know we have a lot to talk about," Sarah finally said, her voice trembling. "I've thought a lot about us and what happened," I began, feeling the gravity of each word. "I want to believe you, but trust is built over time and you've shattered that." "I understand that," she said, tears pooling in her eyes. "I'll do whatever it takes to earn your trust back. I'm committed to changing." "Change has to come from a genuine desire to grow, not just to win me back," I replied, keeping my tone firm. "I'm willing to try, but it will take time. I need to see you actively working on yourself and contributing to our relationship." "I will," she insisted, her voice steady now. "I'm ready to do the work. I've realized how much I took you for granted. You deserve better than what I gave you." Her sincerity resonated with me. I could see the person I fell in love with shining through the cracks of her regret. "I want to believe in us, but I need to set boundaries. I can't keep getting hurt," I said, my voice softening. "I promise I won't cross those boundaries again," she vowed. "And if I do, you have every right to walk away." For the first time in what felt like ages, a glimmer of hope stirred within me. I knew it wouldn't be easy, but perhaps we could find our way back to each other, one step at a time. As we talked, I allowed myself to envision a future where we could rebuild, not just our relationship, but ourselves as individuals. It would be a long road filled with challenges, but I was ready to take the first step. In that moment, I learned that healing isn't linear and forgiveness doesn't always come easily. But as I left her house that evening, I felt a renewed sense of purpose. I was determined to write my own story, one that reflected my journey of growth, resilience, and trust. And maybe, just maybe, Sarah and I could be part of that narrative again.